Hello, round two. So I've got a few here. This is from Michael in San Francisco. I like that the word is getting out about my Ask Curt a Question page. So, um, yeah, I'd love to see it grow. So thank you again. Okay, so do I have what do I eat at home? That's a question I get from a lot of people. When I give cooking lessons, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, you must eat like a king, or you must, do you do fancy meals for yourself, rack of lamb or roast duck and this and that? Look, man, I get no pleasure from cooking for myself. I love cooking for others, okay? And pretty much any chef is like that. I think a lot of chefs would rather go hungry than cook for themselves. I mean, when you're at home and you're busy either doing stuff around the house or busy just laying around doing nothing, um, even making toast can seem like a monumental task. No chef that I know of gets pleasure out of cooking for themselves. It's kind of like that saying, you ever see auto mechanics working on their car on their day off? No. But again, it's cooking for others. That's where the pleasure comes in. But a lot of chefs, what we go for is what's easy: a sandwich, ordering pizza, ordering Chinese food. That's what a lot of chefs eat at home. Um, it certainly isn't the healthiest, but it just gets old. Cooking for yourself because you're cooking all day for everybody else, so you don't want to cook for yourself. There's just no joy in it. So the example I give people, and this is a little bit graphic, but and most people they don't get that when I tell them that. Well, I don't like cooking for myself or whatever. They look at me puzzled, and I say, okay, look, this is kind of a graphic example, but it's like masturbation. Okay, when you do it yourself, yeah, it gets the job done and it's fine and everything, but it's much better if somebody else does it. Even if what somebody else does is average, it's still way better because they did it. You didn't have to do it. That's what, for example, I remember a number of years ago, I went on a date and she made Stouffer's lasagna. She basically opened a frozen thing and put it in the oven. And she's like, I didn't know what to cook. I was so intimidated to cook for a chef. I said, listen. And she even apologized for making frozen food. I said, look, trust me, I didn't have to make it. Somebody else did. And that, for me, is the world. And all chefs, for the most part, are like that. Because we didn't have to do anything. So, and even if it's frozen, hey, if it's good, or even if it's just decent, even if it's not great, even if it's decent, hey, we're happy, But now what I eat at home, I try to eat a bit better, and it's tough sometimes. There have been times where I bought stuff and then it goes to waste, and that's a really bad thing to do. I mean, because there are people out there starving, but it's almost like there are times where I don't even want to look at cooking for myself. It's almost like I can't imagine cooking for myself. I just, no. So what I do now is I usually buy stuff prepared, like roasted chicken that's already roasted, or things like that, or things that are like meatballs that are already prepared. So all I have to do is cook it, or in the case of the roasted chicken, it's already cooked. All I have to do is take the meat off, or cut it in half and just reheat it, and then I'll make I'll saute vegetables or rice, because the rice I already have cooked. The vegetables, it just takes a minute to cut them up and saute them. And then I keep the refrigerator stocked with about 20 different sauces. I have barbecue sauce, Asian sauce, enchilada sauce, tomato sauce, everything under the sun, mustards, whatever. And that's what I eat. So it's very easy, it's quick, it's healthy, and it's not expensive too. Next question by Jenny in Chicago. What do I eat at home? Oh, I'm sorry. What are my thoughts on the culinary scene in America? Years ago, American chefs used to be made fun of by their European, in particular French counterparts, because we were a bunch of shoemakers. America is good at bastardizing all things food and beverage. Now, that's changed because American chefs are just as good as anybody else out there. And we have some really good restaurants and wines in this country. The problem is, we're overwhelmed, they're oversaturated and dominated by food that lacks substance. I mean, think of it, I'll use where I live, in Texas as an example, and this is the same everywhere. I drive down the street, what do I see? There's a Chicken Express, there's a Taco Bell, there's a Sonic, there's a Chili's, there's a TGI Fridays. I mean, it's like the food scene seems to reflect some of, to what I would say to a certain extent, the music and entertainment scene in America, whether it be TV shows or music. It's that everything seems to be lacking substance. I'm not saying there's nothing good out there. I'm just saying that there's a lot of stuff that lacks substance. If I had the money or investors, I would probably work on developing a chain of fast food restaurants that were all healthy, and also offered vegan options. Because, for you to go out and eat healthy, you have to work harder. If you want to go out and eat unhealthy, you don't have to do any work. Drive down the street, go to the drive-thru, get a burger and fries. But to eat healthy, you have to do more work. But my biggest concern about the culinary scene in America is what we're feeding our kids in schools. Well, I don't have kids, but our kids in this country. They're not getting healthy meals, and I've seen what meals are like in other countries for kids, and what we're doing here is baffling, and it's very sad because we're killing them. Maybe not literally, but we are creating an environment where look at the state of America, the health, the obesity crisis, and some of these other issues that we didn't have before. Well, look at what we're eating. Everything is processed for the most part and horrible for you. And that's my thoughts on the culinary scene in America. We need to move away from these corporate chains, and we need to see more of an independent, or like a resurgence of independent restaurants in this country, who are doing healthy stuff. So. Next question is from Jonathan, and another one in Houston. I need advice dealing with a problem employee. This person seems to like to buck authority. Well, I don't know all the details about it, but generally speaking, when you have an employee who has a problem with authority, the first thing, anytime you have a problem, and this is what I would tell my managers. I used to have a good relationship with my managers, and I created an environment where they knew they could come to me, and they wouldn't get raked over the coals if they admitted a mistake. Because a lot of people don't want to admit they made a mistake for fear of the repercussions of that mistake. And granted, if somebody screws up bad, then they have to be held accountable. But I would meet my managers once a week. Because when I was a chef and I had 4, 5, 6, 7 food and beverage outlets under me, I couldn't be in each outlet all the time and know what was going on. So I had to manage through my managers, and the way I did that again is by managing through them. I would have meetings with them every week, and it took some time for me to earn their trust, to where they felt they could open up and be honest about mistakes. But once I earned their trust and they knew that I wasn't going to, rip their head off every time they made an honest mistake or whatever, they opened up more. And then some are still not going to open up as much as others, but the first thing I would always ask them is, if they had a problem, I say, okay, what do you think you're doing wrong? Because most of the time when you have problems with an employee, maybe not most, but often it's because of the manager. What's the manager doing wrong? Have you shown the person right? And this is a perfect example. Take standards. In the previous video, I talked about follow-up and training. Well, if you train somebody properly, then everything should be made as you showed them. But if you didn't, then you're going to have problems. So, what it really boils down to is we all make mistakes, but we don't always see them. Whenever there's a mistake, most managers are too quick to think, oh, it's the employee. But if you really look at how you manage and be very critical of yourself, you'll see where you've made missteps, or chances are you'll see where you've made missteps. So I stress that to people, okay? So the first thing is try to see if you're somehow causing it. And that's not easy for people to do, to admit where they've been wrong, but you're only admitting it to yourself. You don't have to publicize it, right? And then, and again, I don't know all the details, but, so again, one, are you causing it? Two, have your instructions been crystal clear? Three, have you let them walk over you? Four, the best way to get the behavior and adherence to standards in your establishment that you would want is to create an environment where not adhering to the standards is just not thought of. Take food consistency. I'll use a very, very basic example. Let's say that each plate gets a parsley garnish, and the parsley is placed at 2 o'clock if you're imagining the plate is a clock, okay? Well, if you allow some plates to go out without the parsley, or some plates to go out where the parsley's placed in a slightly different location on the plate, or some plates go out where there's maybe extra parsley, or some plates go out where maybe this is wrong, then you're creating an environment where employees know, because they'll see if this little thing is left to go, then that means you'll be okay with some other little thing that you can let go, and some other little thing, okay? And that is the problem. Take, for example, grooming standards. Grooming standards is a perfect example of something that I've seen many times go south, because it starts out when maybe somebody isn't quite clean shaven enough, or maybe somebody doesn't have exactly the right color belt, or it's some small deviation from the standard that the manager lets go. Well, what happens is those little things build up, and the next thing you know, it leads to bigger issues. So you have to create an environment where it's not even considered to stray in any way, shape, or form. So if the standard is that your pants are ironed and there's a crease in the center of the front of the pants, then you do not accept anything else. And see, what the thing is, a lot of managers feel that by doing that, you're being too hard on people. But that's because there's so much mediocrity in the business world, and so many people are used to, well, we can let that go, let's get it next time, or no, that's not how you run a business. The best places for standards are the ones that have a zero tolerance for anything that is not per the standards. So think about those things, and you can email me. Again, send me a message and give me more details if you like. I'll be happy to answer them for you. But that's what I would say about the authority. And then also, too, if you do have a person who has a problem with authority, well, maybe you can another way to win them over is to, if it's appropriate. Now, you shouldn't have to appeal to them like a salesman is trying to sell something to a customer, but let's say this person has some skills, and maybe they have some talents. Well, see where you can utilize them, and maybe you give them a little extra work. That'll make them feel good, right? Maybe this person has some good culinary skills, and you're working on a new menu, and you say, hey, so-and-so, we're doing a new menu. Would you like, you have any ideas you like? And, because when somebody bucks authority, it's typically because they want authority, right? I mean, this is assuming you haven't done anything. All the advice I'm giving you is assuming you haven't done anything to cause it, like you've been abusive to them or mean or whatever. But, try to play up to their strengths and get them involved and make them feel important, because that's really what everybody wants. They want to feel important. So, but without knowing all the details, that's really the best I can do for you on that. And then the last question is, this is from Jim in, Topeka. All right, first Kansas question. Okay, best pots to cook in, he wants to know. He said, well, what do you like to cook in? There's Calphalon, there's copper, there's stainless steel, blah, blah, blah. Basically, for pots, think of heavy and think of reinforced. Because a lot of kitchens use aluminum pots and the bottom gets all warped and everything. You want a heavy reinforced bottom pot, okay? I like stainless steel. It's easy to take care of. It's going to be here a lot longer than any of us. So I like stainless. Copper, you have to polish it. You have to take care of it. It's a pain in the butt unless you don't mind taking care of copper. Now, copper is good for conducting heat, and copper is good for whisking egg whites. That's why for any of you that have a KitchenAid mixer, one of the tabletop ones that sell usually for about $300, $350, one of the bowls, the attachment bowls they have is copper. Well, that's for egg whites because it helps whisk. The copper, the way it reacts with the egg is it helps get the air in there or something. But that's what that's for. I don't know any other use for copper where you're applying it to food as you would in that way. But yeah, so anyways, think of heavy. Now the Calphalon's great, stainless steel's great, but here's the thing about kitchen utensils, guys. Don't try to save money, okay? Now, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money, okay? I get it. We all have a different budget. So many of you have families, and getting clothes for the kid comes before cookware. But the thing is, if you can do it, the stainless steel pots they're going to be here a lot longer than you or I. You spend the money once and you're done. You don't need to have this huge $2,000 set. If you get like a big pot for soup or something like that, and then you get a couple of sauce pots. And now for sauteing, a lot of times I like to use a non-stick, and they have like a ceramic coated now. I got it Bed Bath & Beyond. It's quite good. I like it very much. And I don't know, this is new for me. I haven't seen this before. But I don't think that the material on this ceramic, it's like a ceramic non-stick or something. I don't think it flakes. I could be wrong. But like the concern with Teflon is that it can flake, okay? So, anyhow. But again, so in closing, think of weight. You want heavy and you want reinforced bottom. And really just, comes down to where do you want to spend the money? Do you want to spend more and get copper? Do you want to get the Calphalon? And then the appearance, what looks better to you. So that's it for today. Thank you again for your questions. I welcome them and I appreciate them. I like to teach, so please send more questions. And if there's any videos you want me to do, I'm going to do a video on risotto and demi-glace this week. But if there's a video of something you want me to demonstrate, I'll be happy to do it, and provided I can do it. I mean, don't say, Curt, can you do us some Somalian food? I don't know Somalian food or so on. So, not to pick on Somalia, it's just a random example. But anyways, again, thank you very much, and you have a great day.